In September 2025, Japan's Saga Prefectural Police held a press briefing, not a full press conference. Cameras were allowed only during the opening statement before being asked to leave. Reporters could remain, but only for written coverage. The chief inspector announced that a forensic analyst in his 40s had falsified DNA test results in more than 100 criminal cases. He was dismissed from duty, and the case referred to prosecutors on suspicion of forging official documents and destroying evidence. Bowing deeply before the cameras, he apologized for allowing such an incident to occur. The misconduct came to light about a year earlier when the analyst's supervisor noticed a discrepancy in the recorded start date of a DNA test. Between 2017 and 2024, he handled more than 600 DNA analyses, of which 130 were found to contain falsified entries, spanning a wide range of criminal cases. He appeared to have reused data or samples from unrelated cases, edited electropherogram records, or replaced missing evidence, creating the impression that each analysis had been properly completed. When questioned, he admitted to the falsifications, saying he wanted to make his work appear efficient, to look competent, avoid criticism for delays, and win approval rather than correction. At the briefing, officials described the analyst's misconduct, from altered records to manipulated DNA results, as inappropriate handling, insisting it had no effect on criminal investigations. They also noted that the prosecutor's office's review had already reached the same conclusion, that no investigations or trials had been affected, effectively closing the matter, at least officially. They avoided terms like fabrication or forgery in their explanation, framing the issue as a matter of procedure rather than deception. Yet re-examinations quietly told a different story. Of the over 600 samples he had analyzed, only about 20% were available for retesting, and 8 produced results that contradicted the originals. That failure rate alone should have been alarming, especially given that most samples were no longer available for review. But officials maintained that these discrepancies had no effect on any case outcomes, promising only to tighten internal oversight. Outside the police, however, the Saga Bar Association urged the police to release all findings and permit independent oversight, warning that leaving the review to insiders alone would make any judgment impossible to verify. Within days, the Japan Federation of Bar Associations went further, condemning the misconduct as a grave falsification of evidence that shakes the very foundation of trust in police forensic work. It demanded the formation of a neutral third-party panel to examine not only the falsifications themselves, but the structural weaknesses that had allowed them to persist for more than 7 years. Under mounting public and legal pressure, the National Police Agency launched a special inspection of the Saga laboratory in October, dispatching about 10 national experts, including DNA specialists from the National Research Institute of Police Science, to review its procedures and preventive measures. The agency presented the move as a thorough internal review, a gesture toward transparency that critics said was anything but. It was, in the end, the police investigating themselves. Experts warned that Japan's own policy revealed a deeper flaw. In a 2024 directive, the National Police Agency instructed forensic laboratories, whenever possible, preserve remaining samples. The Japanese word, narubeku, whenever possible, may sound cautious, but it signals flexibility where accountability should be absolute. Unlike fully legislated systems such as CODIS in the United States, Japan's national DNA database operates under administrative directives and internal police rules, covering only about 1% of the population, with no law defining its scope or oversight, leaving safeguards like evidence preservation and auditing to discretion rather than law. As Professor Koji Tabuchi of Kyushu University warned, the problem isn't just about one analyst, it's structural. When records or samples aren't strictly preserved, verification itself becomes optional. That word, narubeku, embodies the system's ambiguity, a standard that asks for diligence, but never demands it. And yet, even in systems built on law, no safeguard is absolute. What follows matters most: silence, scrutiny, or the loss itself becoming evidence of failure. The Saga scandal isn't a loud story, no courtroom drama, no public reckoning, at least, not yet. It's a story of quiet diligence turned inward, a man who forged data to appear efficient, and an institution that turned outward in self-preservation, rebranding fabrication as inappropriate handling. In a culture where, whenever possible, is written into the very rules of evidence preservation, truth rests not on law, but on conscience. And in that silence between duty and doubt, science becomes what it was never meant to be, an act of obedience. Because in Japan's quiet DNA scandal, silence wasn't the absence of sound. It was the way the system spoke.